Hey friends, how are you? Happy Friday. So I asked you guys this week, what are some of your favorite reset buttons? And I love this terminology. I was reading the book by Glennon Doyle called Untamed. Let me know if you've read her book or if you've heard of her. She has several books out as an author. And one of my nutrition clients actually sent me one of her books. And you know, when you read something and the way that they said something is just different than how you've heard it before, and it resonates differently. So she talked about this of having easy buttons and having our reset buttons. And our easy buttons are things that are going to temporarily take us out of the discomfort that we're in. But the thing is that they don't work in the long run because they're just helping us really drift farther away from ourselves. They're really just helping us disconnect further from what we're feeling, right? And not addressing the root problem. So it's just kind of temporarily solving the problem of feeling better. But then when we come out of that state, we feel more lost in the woods than we did beforehand, right? Can you resonate with that? Give me a heart if that resonates with you, if you know those easy buttons for you, what that looks like. So our reset buttons are going to be things that help us to make it more comfortable to manage that situation. Then we would have to really process that, and it's going to be harder maybe to do, but it's going to help us reset and feel better instead of worse ultimately, right? So easy buttons really help us to abandon ourselves, and reset buttons are things that make those tough moments more possible and bearable. So let's talk about some examples of this. Easy buttons are going to be things like boozing. Me, that's what I do, definitely. Crazy here. So drinking alcohol, right? And just kind of that's what I enjoy. So I am working through this stuff too, for sure. Overeating is one thing, right? Super common. It's easy, it's available, it's accepted socially. Shopping or just spending money on things that we know that we really don't need or are going to make us feel better ultimately. Making rude comments or being critical of other things, comparing ourselves to other people, inhaling loads of sugar. So all these things are going to temporarily disconnect us from what we're actually feeling. So pulling your phone and mindlessly scrolling on social media and comparing yourself to what everybody else is doing is not really going to help you feel better. It's actually going to make you feel worse and bring us down that rabbit hole, right? We know the rabbit hole that it brings us down. Maybe if we overeat after that, we don't feel good. We want to further disconnect from other people, which is actually maybe what we're really needing is the support from other people to talk with and to really just work through that problem or stressor. So there are things that we can do instead, and something that I really help my clients to identify for them, because this is so different for everybody. Your reset button could be completely different than the next person, but you just really have to understand what that means for you. So some examples that have helped me, that have helped my clients, are the simpler, the better with this kind of stuff. So if you're trying to think of it has to be this perfect routine that you're doing when you need a reset button, it's actually going to make you not want to do it, because in those moments it needs to be simple and it needs to just be really realistic for you. So someone was saying to me that I'm like, so what really helped you, work through that problem that you were feeling? Somebody really made her upset, and typically she's like, I would have just gone and eat something. And I'm like, okay, so what did you do instead? And she's like, I don't really know. I just worked through it. And then, asking more questions, she's like, I think I just had to drink a water and went in the other room. But that's amazing, right? It doesn't have to be complicated. So yeah, pour a glass of water, drink a glass of water. That's just going to make you feel better, and change your environment, right? If you're in the kitchen and that's a place that you're typically going to fall into, mindlessly walking in the pantry and just going for something, then go in a different room, go upstairs, go outside, go in a different space that's going to allow you to work through that better. If you can go outside and go for a walk, that's always amazing, like such a game changer. Free medicine literally is like going outside, even if it's cold, like just a 10-minute walk. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. Just literally like standing in the shower if you have time to just like, okay, I'm just gonna go take a shower. A bath is nice too. Honestly, just like the sensation of having water on you is so therapeutic. So that can be helpful. Just like playing with your dog or like putting your dog on you. Sometimes I'll even just like lay on the ground, like literally lay on my back on the ground, and just it's so grounding that way. I have a weighted blanket that I also really love. So it's exactly what it sounds like. And I actually used to work in a nursing home with a rehab population as well. And it was amazing when we would have weighted blankets for people with anxiety and being really anxious and perseverating on things and Alzheimer's disease and all these things. Like, it was amazing. This weighted blanket was like so therapeutic for them, and it works really well for me. Like, I'll just like put it right over me on the couch or on bed or something, and I absolutely love it. I would really encourage you to just like hide your phone. So if you know getting on your phone and going on social media, this is easy, right? It's easy to do that, and it just makes us feel worse typically. So also, this depends on like what accounts you're following. If you're following people that are probably not really supporting what you want to be doing, it's easy to say, oh, like this is what everybody else does. Everybody else just goes and drinks a bottle of wine, and so that's okay. And it's also what is modeled to us. So this is hard for all of us, myself included, to really navigate, because what we watch every day and what we see is easy buttons, right? Turn on a show, literally, and everybody is either just like drinking alcohol or overeating or doing, like, they're coping in very unhealthy ways. And so we're taught that this is just normal. This is what you do. You're just supposed to, cope this way. And it's, it's not really helping us work through that. It's just kind of normalizing it and not helping us get to the other side of that. Playing relaxing music. So when I'm in the kitchen, cooking or doing something, I'll just put on like piano music or relaxed music. That really helps me. If you need like banging music or upbeat music or whatever, that's great. Just dancing. One thing that really helps one of my clients in the evening time is knitting or crocheting. So she likes that to keep her hands busy, and she has a focus and a project. Another one of my clients started doing crafts. She makes these beautiful signs, and that really helps to give her brain a focus. But it's also a creative outlet too, and it's not super tedious necessarily. So she loves that. So those are just some ideas of like some reset buttons that can be helpful. If you do have time, like maybe saying, on the weekend, I'm going to go drive just somewhere different. I'm going to change my environment. Maybe this literally means just going upstairs, shutting your door, and having your own time. I see this so often with moms that they don't literally have any space and time for themselves ever. And this is the barrier we need to overcome. So one of my clients, I was really encouraging her over the weekend to communicate with her husband and say, hey, I need 2 hours or whatever that looks like over the weekend to be on my own. And that can look so many different ways. If she wants to go for a walk, go do errands, just literally go upstairs in her room, but having a space where she doesn't have, responsibilities. As a mom, you don't leave work and go home. You are constantly on, and you never have that break. So this is what is so important for you, because you need that space. Like, as humans, we need to have our own space. When we don't, that's when we start to reach for those easy buttons, right? So remember that overcomplicating this is literally only accelerating the highs and lows. When you think of like, oh, I have to like meditate for an hour, right? Or something. Like, if you love meditating and you are into that, beautiful. Like, yes, it is proven that is so helpful to work through these situations, but there's so many other things that we can do to navigate this as well. So I really encourage you, make a list, like maybe really sit down and look at, okay, what are the easy buttons that I reach for? And when you can see it and like look at that on a piece of paper, it's helpful to say, okay, then what can I do differently here? What are some reset buttons? Because in those moments, you need to have them in front of you and available. So maybe that means like putting these in the kitchen on the cupboard, right? And if that's what you're reaching for in those moments, there's your list that you can go to for other things you can do in those moments, because a lot of times it's very reactive. It's very quick. It's very mindless. So even just pausing and saying, okay, I recognize this is a habit that I have. This is what I do when I'm really stressed, especially Friday nights. I see this so often, right? We're tired. It's been a long week. You know, we've worked hard, stressed from our job and from our families. And it's just like that tipping point of what is the easiest thing I can do to escape right now. Totally normal feeling, right? I completely resonate with this too, and it's hard to navigate, but as you practice this and put in the reps, like any new skill that you're learning, it will get easier, and you will start to recognize this more and more around yourself, and you'll be able to work through it. And I just was talking to one of my clients, and she was struggling with overeating and binge eating, and the cool thing is that it starts to happen less often. When it does, we're so much more aware of it, and we can work through those moments faster. So we don't get stuck there as long of like, okay, so this happened and now I'm sitting here for weeks, right? It's like, okay, so this happened and now here's how I can move through this faster. Having support around this is so important, because just talking through it and checking in, like I'm checking in with her tomorrow, and I'm always so excited to hear just like the things that she's been able to recognize. So I hope that was helpful of just some ideas that you can really utilize yourself. I'd love to hear any things that were helpful for you, or you're, you know, recognizing this in your life, especially, you know, Friday night going into the weekends. This is when often we're struggling with these things. So hope that was helpful for you guys. I am going to try to jump on here tomorrow morning with one of my nutrition clients, and I'm so excited to do this interview with her because she is so inspiring. So many people that I work with have been struggling with some kind of disordered eating, and it doesn't even have to have a diagnosis attached to it, right? And the way that she's been able to work through this is just been like so inspiring. So this is hard to do, is to share your story and your experience, and I'm so excited that she is willing to do this for you guys, because it's powerful and it's inspiring, and I just want to be that for you, because I've struggled with this myself personally, and it's so why I am so passionate about helping you all be able to move through this in whatever way that looks like for you. So what works for me doesn't mean that it's going to work for you, and that's okay, but really just like peeling back the layers and getting to the root cause of the problem is so helpful. So I hope that was helpful. I hope to see you guys tomorrow. We're going to try to jump on here around 8:30 on Saturday morning and share her story more. So I'd love to see you then. Otherwise, I'll talk to you guys soon. Have a great weekend.